Sooner or later, every single game developer faces crunch. But that doesn't mean we have to go through it with stress and anxiety. And after going through this process myself, I have developed some strategies to deal with the stress and anxiety that comes with overworking yourself. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Danny and I'm an engineer turned game programmer. And in this channel I help other game developers deal with everything about game development which actually has nothing to do with making video games, like finding work-life balance, beating imposter syndrome, or not burning out of the job. And in this 3-part video series we are covering the infamous crunch. In the first video we explore the reason behind why some game developers choose to crunch. And in this one we are going to assume that you are either forced to or have chosen to crunch, and what are the strategies that can help you deal with all the emotional challenges about this process. Because after overworking myself for a lot of years over the last decade, even working 60 or 70 hours a week, I know this is not sustainable. But today I can happily say that I'm not burnt out, because I know how to handle the stress and anxiety that comes with crunch. And don't worry, I'm not going to tell you the latest mainstream getting things done productivity tips. I know you don't need another white cisgender dude to tell you to prioritize your task and use the Pomodoro technique and blah blah blah. I want to focus on the inside stuff, and not so much on what we do, but the things that shape how we thought and feel. That's why the first thing I want to tackle is our mindset around crunch. Okay, this might sound a little bit controversial, but I think the very first thing we should do in our lives when we are facing with crunch is that we should accept that we are responsible for the situation we are in. And to support this point, I want to tell you about 2 points in my life in which I actually had to crunch, and 2 crucial differences I felt in these situations. The first one was back in college when I had a lot of pressure on me because of exams, assignments, and social situations. And the thing is that I wasn't feeling that good about myself in that stage of my life, so I felt pretty powerless about the situation. I just thought to myself like, wow, I have all this work to do and I have no time to be with my friends, I can't have any other hobbies, etc. And I feel pretty depressed, to be honest. And I think this was mainly because I felt like there wasn't anything for me to do about the situation. I just had to go along with it, pass my exams, and then I'll be happy once this is all over. I didn't take responsibility for my situation, even if I chose to be on an engineering career which is pretty demanding, or I chose to try to get a good degree in exams, or I choose to not quit altogether college. Comparing that to right now, where I'm crunching from time to time in my side hustle business, my content creation business, I'm not really burning out, not only because I have control over my time and I don't have to meet a deadline imposed by college or I need to pass an exam, but because I have taken ownership of my situation. And I know that I'm choosing to be here and there are clear things I can do if I don't feel like this is going in the correct way. But I know you might be thinking like, this is all well and fine, but what do I do if I have my boss forcing me to crunch? And I get it, it's a lot more difficult when there are companies involved, but hear me out, I think we can figure this out together. I think a really cool metaphor to think about this problem is to imagine yourself as a ship. When you are starting to crunch, you are nothing but a ship going through a storm and the wind is striking you from multiple directions. When this situation happens, you cannot control when or how the wind strikes. All you can do is steer your wheel to correct the course as you go. Meaning that the only 2 things that you control really are your actions and your thoughts. And I will go as far as saying that you only control your actions, because I get it, there are times in which it's impossible not to feel furious if someone says something mean to us in a meeting. In that situation, it's completely normal to feel anger, but there is a gap between the feeling you are feeling and the action you take where you have control over yourself. And for me at least, it's super useful to feel responsible and confident that I have control over my actions even if I'm feeling things I don't want to feel. So when the stress and anxiety that comes with crunch arrives, you have the ability to pause for a moment and do the right thing at the right time. Because otherwise you are just gonna feel powerless and that there is nothing that you can do about it. And I don't want to sound like I'm advocating for crunch or hustling. My whole channel, for goddamn sake, is about mental health and well-being. But I think that if you are forced to crunch, or you have actively decided to do so, you might as well make the most out of it. Because if you are here, I know that you know how the industry works, and you are here because you like making video games, not because of the money, right? So if for X or Y reason you are deciding to do crunch, there's no point in seeing it as a completely bad situation. So when I'm in this situation, it's not like I'm trying to be happy for doing crunch, but I try to find the little positive things about the situation, like working on a specific skill, bonding up with a teammate, or simply practicing how to deal with stress and anxiety. But again, I'm not saying that you should be grateful for this situation, and it's completely reasonable if you feel angry or sad. Moreover, I think you should feel this way so that it doesn't repeat in the future. Okay, now that we have shifted our mindset around crunch, it's time to focus on what are the things that we can do during crunch so that we maintain our focus and sanity. And personally, when I did crunch myself, the things that stressed me the most were the expectations set by my bosses, my producer, or even my teammates. That's why I found really helpful to establish clear limits and expectations with these people so that we both know and agree upon what I'm going to do in those extra hours. And since I'm a person who struggles a lot with conflict and confrontation, I have come up with a framework for myself called the 3 Ws, which just represents the 3 things I want my boss to understand from the situation, which are number 1, what is happening, and here you can be completely objective about how many hours you are gonna do, what's the situation of the company, and what is the state of your tasks. Secondly, what I'm going to do and what are the things I want to accomplish in those extra hours and nothing more. And most important of all, what I'm not going to do. Because it's so easy to enter in a hamster wheel when you are doing crunch and start taking task after task, even if they are not either your concern or your responsibility. So please, for the love of God, always tell your bosses what you are not going to do, so that they can agree upon before starting this situation. Now, if you find it intimidating to do these things alone, there's a message template in the description below so that you can use it completely for free. And it's just a template for you to fill the blanks and send it to your boss about these 3 W's that we have talked about. And a really cool framework that Jonas Tyrone told me about in the last video to think about how you can set these expectations for yourself is to think of the time you are overworking as an energy load you are taking for your future self. Let's put number to this thing because I think it's easier to imagine it this way. Let's say that for a given day you have 100 units of energy and you decide to work 2 extra hours, and normally you spend 10 units of energy on 1 hour, meaning that this crunch period will take 20 units of energy. But I think it's not really that way, because when you are loaning something you usually need to pay more back than you loaned it. So if you normally use 20 units of energy for 2 hours of work, if those 2 hours are from crunch, you are probably gonna pay double the amount, meaning that you are taking 40 units of energy from your future self. The main idea here is that every hour you work extra today, you are probably gonna pay 2 hours tomorrow, because you're gonna be tired, sad, angry, frustrated, etc., etc., which is all completely normal. So whenever I decided what I'm going to do and what I'm gonna tell my bosses I can do, I take into consideration my future self, because there is no one we treat worse than our future selves. I think there's even a fallacy about how we expect more from our future self than our present selves. I don't quite remember it right now, but I will take a look at it and leave it in the description below. Finally, I want to tackle a really neat problem we all have when we enter in this hamster wheel of doing crunch. And is that we usually don't think about the situation and how likely it is to repeat in the future. And the worst thing that can happen to you, I think, is entering this autopilot mode in which every single week or every single day you are crunching for no reason. So let's try to pause for a moment and think about how the situation went and how we feel about it. And the most powerful technique for me in this case has been journaling. Because sometimes when you stop and write your thoughts down on pen and paper, you discover that you either not felt that bad about the situation or you felt terrible about it without noticing so. So I think it's worth giving it a shot and writing your thoughts down for 5 or 10 minutes after you have ended your crunch. And if you have faced crunch recently, I'm very curious about how you feel about this way when you are writing it down. So please, if you are willing to share, I'll be super happy to hear your thoughts on the comment section down below. And if you need help coming up with prompts to do some journaling, then my weekly newsletter is gonna be super valuable for you. It's called The Checkpoint and it's basically just a place in which every single Monday we pause and reflect. I'll give you a concept to think about your life and your career and tons of resources to apply it on your own life today. There's a link in the description below, you know the rest. It's completely free and you can unsubscribe at any time. If you decide to try this reflection for yourself, one crucial aspect a friend of mine told me just yesterday is to think about how likely it is for this crunch to repeat, because usually if you do it once, you're probably going to do it twice, or at least your company is going to expect you to do so. And I think this is the worst situation to be in, honestly. Because usually if you do crunch once and then you don't do it, probably your company is going to say that your productivity has lowered and they have a reason to fire you. And I'm not saying that this is always going to be the case, that's why I want you to explore it a little bit further. So try to deeply think what led to this situation. Was this a production problem, which is likely going to repeat? Was this because the client asked for something else unexpected and you just had to do it on time, which is not that likely to repeat? Or was this just because you felt external pressure to do crunch, in which case you have a lot of power to change the situation? Every case is different, so I cannot tell you what your situation is, but I think you should carefully consider that this is likely to repeat itself. And that's exactly why crunch is unsustainable in the long run, because you cannot work your ass off every single day. And I think usually when something is good in the short term, it's bad in the long term, and vice versa. For example, if you are crunching right now, it's good in the short term because you are not confronting the situation and you are getting work done, but it's bad in long term because you are eventually going to burn out. But if you confront the situation and you decide to either not crunch or quit your company altogether, it's bad in the short term because of financial stability and emotional well-being, but it's usually better in the long term because you are gonna find another company, another job, or anything else, or just be happy for what goddamn second. So yeah, I know it's scary to establish limit and set expectation with your bosses, but let's face it, I think that if you are here, you are probably a game developer, you enjoy making video games, you have a job, you are very good looking probably, and you are not here because of the money, because you could get any other job in the world to earn more money. So if you are not happy because you have to do crunch and you are not earning money because we game developers do no money whatsoever, then what's the point on continue to it? And don't get me wrong, I don't hate video games, I still love making them and playing them, and I don't want everybody to just quit the industry altogether. But I'm super happy when someone takes the rise of their lives and actively and consciously takes decisions which makes them happier. So if you are right now dealing with crunch, I hope these strategies help you on the way and that you will take responsibility and ownership for your situation and deal with it soon enough. If that's the case, I think this 3-part series is going to be super helpful for you. So I think you should definitely check the first video in the series if you haven't done so yet, and see the next one just after this one, whenever it comes out. If not, it's going to be just a random video on my channel here. I hope it's helpful too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I wish you the best of luck and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.